GATE 2022 Metallurgical Engineering Question 30. In continuous casting of steel, mold flux is used for. There are 4 applications of mold flux. We have to identify which one of them are the correct application of molding flux in continuous casting of steel. First of all, let us look at the operation of continuous casting of the steel. In the image itself, you can see there is a pouring ladle, pouring the molten metal into the pouring basin. We call it as tun dish. So the metal is first liquefied and poured into the tun dish, which is a container that leads to the mold that will cast the steel. So this tun dish is constantly supplied with the molten steel to keep the process going. Here, the entrance of the mold is filled with the inert gas to prevent the reaction of molten steel with gases in the environment like oxygen. Here, the molten metal will move swiftly through the mold and it does not completely solidify in the mold itself. This entire mold is cooled with water that flows along the outer surface. So you can see this is the cooling water channel in, out. And typically the steel casting generally solidifies along the walls of the casting, and then it generally moves to the interior of the steel casting. So the metal casting that moves outside the mold with the help of different set of rollers. You can see the rollers. One set of rollers tends to bend the metal cast, while another will tend to straighten it. This helps to change the direction of the flow of steel slab from vertical to the horizontal. That is a broad working of the continuous casting of the steel. Fine. Now, why mold flux is used in this process? The function of mold flux, it generally depends on the specific contact zone. If the zone of contact is with the liquid steel, then the first primary function is the thermal insulation, to reduce the heat loss. Here the objective is to avoid heat loss that could cause premature solidification of the liquid steel in the meniscus zone. And a bad thermal insulation in meniscus, it promotes operational problems like breakout, or it could also cause surface defects in the product like crack or oscillation deep marks. Here you can see the oscillation deep marks are there in this meniscus zone. This is the meniscus zone. The second function of the mold flux is to entrap the inclusions. We generally design the mold flux in such a way that they have the capacity to absorb and entrap inclusions. Inclusions are generally found at the interface of liquid slag and metal. And in this way, it is possible to improve the cleanliness of the steel. The large particles, they can cross the slag metal interface easily, but the smaller inclusions need more time to do it. And this absorption of inclusions, it can be enhanced by using fluxes that have high sodium oxide, lithium oxide, calcium fluoride content. But they should have low aluminum oxide, titanium oxide contents. So inclusion control is another application of mold flux. Now, if you move on to the zone of contact of flux with solidified steel, there the lubrication becomes the most important function of mold flux. The lubrication capacity of liquid slag it is related to its viscosity and the solidification temperature. For this reason, it is very important to establish the viscosity values at the operational temperatures by experimental test. Okay, and this property of lubrication, it is influenced by the process conditions also, like the casting speed, superheat temperature, the submerged nozzle design. Okay, so here is the nozzle, you can see the design of the submerged nozzle. Okay, they all directly or indirectly influence the lubrication behavior of the molten mold flux. If the liquid slag layer is interrupted for any reason, okay, it can lead to the occurrence of cracks. The surface cracks in slab are promoted by bad lubrication. Okay, so generally these are the three main applications of the mold flux in continuous casting of steel: to facilitate lubrication, to act as a thermal insulator, and to control the inclusions. It has no role to play in reducing the solidification shrinkage. So that is not a correct option. Right? If you want to know more about the process of continuous casting and the application of mold fluxes in this process, kindly refer lecture 49, Iron Making and Steel Making by Professor Gaur Gopal Rai, Department of Metallurgical Engineering and Material Sciences, IIT Kharagpur. Thank you.